So with me today is Ed Rettig with the American Jewish Committee. Ed is joining me to speak about the American Primaries, Super Tuesday, which happened last night, and the effects between those results and the America-Israel relationship. So Ed, can you give me an update? What happened last night?
Last night showed some important wins and important losses. The highlights appear to be Hillary Clinton's win in California and McCain's win in California and New York. And the issue there is, has Hillary gotten enough of her momentum back to block Obama, or, and this is something of the interesting piece, perhaps she won, but not by enough. And we will have to wait and see to be wiser.
Now, there's been a lot of talk, especially in the Jewish community, about how Obama perceives Israel. Is he a good candidate for Israel? And interestingly, he actually won the majority of votes in Massachusetts. He came in with 52%. Hillary got 46%. In California, Hillary did get the majority of the Jewish vote, but it was by a very small margin. New York, not the case. Hillary took the crown for that state. How is Obama perceived as a candidate in the Jewish community, and what are his stances in regards to Israel? Are people concerned about his Israel approach, or is he a relatively benign candidate in terms of this issue?
The first thing we have to deal with is there was a very interesting, and I think, in sociological terms, pathological symptom in this election, that a libel of Obama that was very extreme and bizarre went around the internet. I think it's been traced to a small right-wing and religiously right-wing church group or something in the South, I think.
Not even Jewish.
Not Jewish. It was picked up in the Jewish community and went around in that, people have their list of where they send interesting articles.
Right.
Some of it was absolutely, off the wall. Suspicions that the man is a sleeper agent for Islamicists and this kind of thing. Some of it is based on his history and then drawing extreme conclusions from very minor points. His middle name is Hussein, and he did study for a while in what was a private Muslim school in Indonesia. Now, what are the concerns that the Jewish community has with Obama? Well, there was earlier in the campaign some sense that he really was not all that knowledgeable about Israel, all that knowledgeable about the Middle East and why things are happening the way they're happening. That was part of a larger concern. He's a local political figure. He was a state legislator who won a race to the Senate and then, 2 years later, started to run for the presidency. On the other hand, he has surrounded himself with advisors, and he's a quick study between
Well, it's
their
really interesting
stances.
What's going on right now in terms of a lot of Jewish voters moving over to the Clinton campaign. The reason that is it's sort of in a paradox with statements that she made during the previous Clinton administration, which is she supported a Palestinian state at that point, which was a very bold move to take as an official stance. Many people in the Jewish community were very fearful of this. Now apparently that's basically what everyone is saying, and her support among Jewish voters seems to be much more secure than, say, Obama or other candidates would have. How do you feel about the change from being anti-Clinton within the Jewish community, Hillary Clinton, I should say, back during his administration, to now being a very pro-Clinton community, the Jewish community?
In terms of her support in the Jewish community as a whole, I think it's always been there and it's always been very solid. I remember she wasn't running for president in the 90s. She was the first lady, which you have a different kind of reaction to. I would argue that the comfort level with Hillary is high in the Jewish community because people feel that they know her. She represents the state that I think still has the city with the most Jews living in it in the world, New York. And she goes back a long way. And Obama, there is still a sense that we don't know who this person is. And it's interesting because we can speculate. Much of the stuff you read critical of Hillary in the general population seems to say something like, we know who this person is, and therefore she has this weakness and that weakness and this weakness and that weakness. On the other hand, in the Jewish community, much of this, I think the Jewish community is also very excited as a community at the prospect of a woman president.
Right.
I think that plays very positively. On the other hand, the Jewish community is very excited at the prospect of an African-American president.
Ed, thanks for joining us here today.
A pleasure.
And be sure to stay tuned to Info Live TV for the latest developments from the U.S. as the primaries continue.